Hello.
Oh, Bira, Brian, Potts.
How we doing, Bernardo?
Fine, my brother.
Fantastic. Another day, another pau de queijo.
This is a good one with Charlie Hunter.
I stole that
Massa.
line from our good friend Charlie Hunter, who's going to be joining us shortly here to talk with us about groove and the universality of groove and all the rhythmic stuff that we love to get into.
So today is a funky day, right?
It's a funky day, and it's not Biley funky, it's funk day. We're doing the OG stuff today. So we're going to talk a little bit about that style of music and that style of groove with him, how it affected him, how it influenced his playing and his musicality and all that sort of stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about funk on Pandeiro as well too, because even though that's not a style that, for say, Pandeiro is not a normal instrument and like a standard funk band here in the States, it is something that like that style has a big place in the world of Pandeiro, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of it I think is tied to like Susano for sure and his kind of experiments with using the pandero and other styles. And one style that like really worked I think very well on pandero is funk, because a lot of it is pretty 16th note driven, you know.
Mm-hmm,
We
mm-hmm,
talk a lot about the perpetual motion in
mm-hmm.
Brazilian music and how like there's this constant tucaraca 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 tucaraca, which is not that far from kind of like, you know, like brothers from another mother, as it were, you know. And so that style really laid well on pandero, and especially with the inverted technique that I can see Charlie Hunter practicing right now. You guys, you can't wait for this. It's gonna be amazing. That inverted technique that Susana developed really lays well for funk, because now all of a sudden the slap tone, which is kind of like the snare in our conception of what the pandero is in the modern technique, falls on the backbeat on the 2 and 4, and he plays little funky stuff. Yeah,
This
man.
kind of thing.
That's it,
And
man. That's
it was very nice that in our method that we produced together, me and Brian, Brian gave this suggestion to adapt some rhythms from drummers.
yeah.
And Brian arrived with some list of suggestions.
All the ones that I wish I could play on drum set, you know. Um, you know, because when we talk about Brazilian music, especially, I think we talk about like, all right, this is a coco rhythm and it sounds like this, and this is a maracatu rhythm and it sounds like this. And in funk, yeah, there's some like kind of tropes and like certain beats and grooves that you hear over and over again, kind of a 4 on the floor, a filled in 16th, da, 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 da. But it's not like you can say this is a funk groove, you know, and this is the funk groove. You know, it's more that it is a funk groove, and there's a lot of different styles. So when we're looking at American music, Black American music, a lot of what we look for is like particular songs and what the groove is in that song, you know. And two of the ones that we talked about in the method come from one of my favorite drummers, James Gadsden, who is just
Nice.
one of the funkiest guys ever. One of the funkiest guys ever. And he's his method of drive, we talk about like condução on the platinellas, the drive on the hi-hats, and being able to like have this kind of thing that's a swing, you know, the same way we talk about samba having a swing to it because it's got a particular feel, placement of those notes. His swing on the right hand in the hi-hat is something unbelievable, and it's something that you can't really write out and notate. So I'm going to apologize already because I wrote these things out. That's not exactly what James Gadsden is playing. It's kind of like it. It's representative of it. And if you look at that and you listen to him, you can get the whole picture. But there's a lot that just can't be put on paper by that guy's playing. So I think the best way is to listen and watch the dude play. And I think we got like a good video here queued up where we can really take a look at that motion. Yeah.
Yes, we have.
So let's jump
Let's
into that
see.
a little bit. This is the famous one, man. So many people have seen this one, especially I think if you're coming over from Ground Up's page, you probably heard this one already. But damn, it's so good.
Well, now I can hear the angel sing, song that only angels sing. She's such a pretty thing, and I can feel my heart just thumping and skipping when I'm kissing my love.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
very nice.
So good, so good. So then I put Bernardo in the very unenviable position of having to recreate a James Gadson groove. And now
That's
you got to
not.
follow this guy. Even worse. But this is the idea behind Pandeiro Moderno, the new method out on Groove Art, is to take rhythms and learn how to apply them onto the pandero. So even though it's not going to sound like a drum set, it's going to sound like its own thing that comes from a bunch of different traditions. Let's hear
But it's a
this.
good inspiration, huh?
For sure,
Inspiration.
man. We need
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's
And
it.
this method shows different tempos. There is this very there is the middle tempo and the very slow tempo, right?
Yeah, exactly. The way we structure this stuff is it starts off like with the full speed so that you can get an idea what the groove is, but nobody's expecting you to be able to play it like that immediately. So it drops down to like for that one, I think it went down to 35 BPM so that you can like watch Bernardo really play through the thing and see what the motions are. We got multicam so that you can see it from every angle, almost like you're in the room with him. You know, that's the idea behind it. And then it goes to a medium tempo one so that you can practice along with it. And we got all those loops available for you to practice along with on YouTube if you want to just go for 10 minutes and play it at 35 BPM, because that's the way you should be practicing, right? Slow and steady. If you want to do it that way, you can do it on our YouTube channel and through the loops there.
Yeah.
So it's a really it's a comprehensive way to kind of look at this sort of stuff. You know, rather than just showing you here's what it is, go figure it out yourself. We'll take you back and walk you through it at a slower pace so that you can really feel what's going on, man. Because I tell you what, that ain't easy to do. There's some trickiness to it. There's some trickiness in, for example, even just sliding that finger roll in. You know, making the transition from like an open tone on the bass drum to the finger. We can get deep in the weeds on the nerdiness of that kind of stuff. But like it sounds like it's easy because you play it that way, but it ain't. There's a lot in there, and there's a lot to dive into with it.
Yeah, and Charlie Hunter asked me to play a groove with him some months ago. It was the quarantine already started. And I have here the video. I don't know if I will get to transmit here because I don't know if I will transmit the sound, but let's try.
Are you trying from where?
From here. Let's see if the sound you can listen.
Okay. No, it's got to come through on a Chrome.
Okay.
You need a Chrome tab.
Okay, so I will prepare that.
Okay, we can work on that a little bit later.
But,
What else we got?
Let's share a little bit of his music before.
There we go. I think that's a move. So Charlie Hunter, you probably already know, doesn't need a ton of introduction, but he's an amazing musician, an amazing, I don't know what you call him, guitarist, bass player. It's a lot of things in the middle. And really, he's just Charlie Hunter. He plays that instrument and he sounds like his own man, his own force. It's an incredible thing. So I think the clip that you have loaded up is just the solo one, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So you can really clearly see what's going on. So maybe some of our viewers in Brazil get to check some of this thing out for the first time. What you're going to hear is you're going to think, man, there's a bass player and a guitar player playing at the same time. But no, it's just this one instrument, this one sound, using kind of an incredible way of blending these things together to make it sound like more than the sum of the parts, you know, which is a lot what we talk about in Pandeiro as well, too. So let's hear Charlie Hunter kill it.
Yeah. One moment.
Does he have an animated version? Are we going to see that? I'm interested in that. Charlie Hunter, the cartoon character, the animated side of funk.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's
It's this one.
Yeah, you got it there?
No, I got it.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Incredible. I got there's a bunch of comments over here that are all like this one. Damn that tone, great sound, all that kind of stuff. Because that's the other thing outside of all the groove stuff we're going to talk about. There's something about this guy's sound that's really
Sound,
incredible as
yeah.
well too, man.
Timbres, the
You know,
colors.
it takes me back to like where did we see him in New Orleans? Blue Nile, I think it was.
Yeah, playing along.
Yeah, it took me right back to that place, man. Just like oof,
Yeah.
oof, oof. Incredible. All right. Without further ado, let's bring this guy on. Incredible monster groove, monster sound. Charlie Hunter.
Dudes,
How you doing, buddy?
good, man. How's everything with you guys?
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot to come with us.
Yeah, dude. It's really incredible to have you here. Thank you
Oh,
so
man,
much.
get out of here. Thanks for having me. Get the F out of here. Get the F out of here, man.
I know we receive a lot of invitation to make lives and then one more live. But
Yeah.
this is a Brazilian live. This is a-
Exactly.
Dude, look, man, I'm a big fan of PRD. So, but Bernardo and I talked about I want to do some playing with the duo,
yeah.
but of course the COVID thing came around and now we can't do anything. But someday that's on my
Someday.
list, man. That's on my bucket list is to
Soon, very
make a
soon.
record with PRD,
That will get rectified. I can't wait to hear that one.
Woo! Yeah.
Somewhere beyond the days of doing all these lives. But you can stamp your passport for this one because you're kind of halfway in Brazil on this one.
Yeah. All right, I will. I'll stamp my passport. And it's much easier to do the talking thing. Any of those live streaming things, I just gave up on that. It was so frustrating, and there was so much latency.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. I think we found a good platform here that seems to kind of do well with it, but it's a different thing, man. And I'll tell you, I listened to like a ton of podcasts. We even, back in the days of gigs when we had those on the road, especially like coming back from a show.
Yeah.
Just get the music out of your head and listen to something else. And there's something about just letting people kind of go and not have a lot of artifice to it,
Yeah.
that allows for kind of a deeper thing to happen and something more interesting to happen. So not to put that pressure upon you, but
Oh, whatever, man. It's all good.
it's just good to be able to like sit here and talk like normal. I wish this were backstage at a green room or something like that. That would make more sense. But for now, this is what we can do. So
Here we are.
Charlie, you said you come to Brazil several times.
Yeah.
How long times and where?
Let's see. I was there about, oh boy. I think the first time I went there was probably about 20 years ago to Sao Paulo for the jazz festival there at that time. And then I loved it so much that I just had to keep on coming back, and then, I met Leo Gondelman in, in Brooklyn. And so we did some playing up here and we became good friends, and he had me come down, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And of course, then through him, I met Danielle Marquez and Sergio Krakowski and, and you guys too, So, I'm hoping to, when we can do that, I'm hoping to come down again and get my ass kicked,
Did you get to see some shows while you were down there? Is there anything that pops in your head?
Well, of course I did a show at Semenci when they were practicing outside.
Nice.
I don't know, who was it that practices out there?
Zé Paulo Becker.
Yeah, Zé Paulo Becker has like a Monday night gig at Semenci, where he would like host a jam. You mean there was somebody out front?
No, outside there was like a samba orchestra was practicing.
Oh, that could be anybody.
Yeah, it was damn good. It was damn good.
There's a lot of those. Yeah, because that's in a beautiful part of town, Lapa, which is like the arts district kind of Rio. There's a ton of little clubs there. And so you'll see a lot of people on the streets just playing as well, too.
Brian's a local guy.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, man. I have to say, it's you listen to that music all the time. I even studied a little Pandeiro, but again, man, it's just like that feel thing. Even though I go down there and play with all Brazilian guys, I would just feel like, man, I'm a problem for these guys, man. I'm an injury risk for them,
I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling. But
that's
something cool.
They're so kind that it's cool. They're just like, just do your thing. Just play some funk over this. It'll be fine.
do what you do and it'll work.
Hopefully, yeah.
In the here we have a very big tradition, very strong tradition of a 7-string guitar, acoustic guitar, and your instrument is 7-string as well, right?
Yeah, that one that was in the video you guys showed is a 7-string, but that one I haven't played. I've been playing this thing I call a big 6. It's a lot like that instrument without the high string, and it has bigger string spacing. So and you can use kind of heavier strings. So it's just more of like a kind of more of a groove machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it has 3 bass and 3 guitar instead of 3 bass and 4 guitar. So it's a whole different thing. But anyway, I mean, it's similar. You know, it's a very similar thing.
It's very nice that in your interviews, I always listen you talk about the drum, that your influence of the drum set, right? And you practice drum set, right?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm getting to be an okay drummer. I've at a point where I have a recording set up here, and I'm working with people, and I'm good. I can do, I can play drums to a click. I have a good feel, and and I've been playing my whole life, But now with this, with all of the shit happening, I'm not going on tour, so I'm just practicing my ass off, and then making beats for people and recording songs. Today I did 3 tunes playing drums and bass and guitar, just regular stuff. And
wow, man.
So I've always been into that, always connected with great drummers, and I've been lucky enough to have played with really awesome drummers my whole life, and that's kind of where everything begins and ends for me,
Yeah.
I saw Instagram you are doing a new album that you are playing the drums, right?
Yeah, I did a record here in this little room that I'm in right now. There's the stuff, and I did a record of I call it Patton in percussion. I don't know if you guys know the great American musician Charlie Patton, who was about 100 years ago. I don't know who a similar analog person in Brazil would be, but
maybe Pixinguinha, maybe, don't know.
Older than Pixinguinha, yeah. This is in the 20s, and Charlie Patton kind of really made music that was, hey, I want to tell people that are on this live to go to their bio and click the bio. We're on YouTube right now. The whole conversation.
Come on over.
But Charlie Patton is one of my all-time musical heroes. I feel like if people can take some time out of their day to listen to his stuff, they'll hear all of everything they like and all of the kind of rock and roll music, and it's all there, and maybe even more powerful in a lot of ways. But anyway, I took like a bunch of his songs that I wanted to do, and then I made a bunch of course I had played along to a click, but I made a bunch of percussion tracks to go with each song. And then of course I mapped it out in my mind, and I knew what was going to happen. Some of them are just 2-bar grooves. I didn't really loop anything, but I played, congas and cajon, shakers, bell, and I even played some Pandeiro.
You played?
Yeah, on some of it. So then after that, I put my instrument on top, playing the bass and the guitar, but it's all Charlie Patton songs. So hopefully that'll be out in a month or 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love those kind of albums that are like that have a lot of orchestration in the percussion, like thinking about the layering of the percussion rather than like, let's throw this. How does this all balance together? What's the sum of all these parts?
Yeah, well, how does it balance, and then how do all of those parts talk to each other, right? I don't know what's going on with my thing here, but it signed off. I'll just keep it open. I don't know why. The live signs off, but whatever. People, go to YouTube.
Come on over.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, man, it's all got to talk, right? You hear that maracatu and the samba and all those things, even the choro stuff where that shit, it has to talk, right? All that African music, it's to me, it's like it's the most like sophisticated music there is, really, in my mind, because of how everything talks together, you know.
It's very communication based, like
Yeah.
everybody kind of has a role in the discussion in that style,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it for a ton in samba for sure, because you have such a wide frequency of instruments
Mm-hmm.
from the
Mm-hmm.
surdos, speaking the low end, all the way up to the tamborims kind of carrying the melody. It's like organized just like an orchestra would be organized
Yeah.
by strings and brass and all that sort of stuff. Everybody has a role and a place
Yeah.
within that. And when you add one thing, maybe you need to take something else out somewhere else to make space for it. There's a big balance that goes into that stuff. And I hear it a lot. Do you know the album Oya de Pesci by
Mm-mm.
Lenini and Susano? And it's an album that comes up on here a lot.
Oh yeah, of course,
You know,
of
and-
course. Yes, yeah. That's the one where we all. When I started playing Pandeiro like 20 years ago, I didn't even know. And someone was like, "Oh, you got to get this record." You
Yeah.
could not find that record in the
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
You could not find it. I was like, "I have to." It's like
Even
the
in
Holy
Brazil.
Grail. I
Uh-huh.
have to hear this.
Yep,
You know?
yep.
Even in Brazil, yeah.
Wow.
I had to order that thing from Europe. It cost me like $100 to get that, and it was worth every penny.
Yep.
Because it's amazing the way Susano stacks and layers all the percussion in that, and it always has the same kind of philosophy that we're just talking about of frequency range, but the instrumentation is totally different in every one of them. And the Pandeiro has a big voice in it for sure, but that album is even wider than that. He brings in a lot of like Brazilian stuff, Afro-Brazilian stuff that had kind of gotten thrown by the wayside in previous years of recording. Like if you go back and listen to like samba stuff from the late 80s, you hear bongos and congas and timbales and like all of this kind of stuff that's not of the culture. And like when he brought it back, it was like, all right, this is Brazil. This is what we have in the music here. This is what we have in the drums here. And it needs to talk and have a space.
Yeah.
And so whenever I hear an album like that, it always kind of brings me back to Oya de Pesci because of just how layered and thick that is.
Yeah, for sure. So many of those great records. There's a record that I really got into, and maybe you guys can explain it to me, but it's a record I got like, I don't know, 20 something years, maybe more than that. Actually, I was in Times Square. Remember that there was that Virgin record store there?
Yeah.
And this was like a big deal back in the day. You could go put on headphones and listen to like, they'd have like 5 and you could listen to it. I was like, oh shit, I'm listening to it. And there was this record called Pontos de Macumba. And do you know that record?
Ponto de Macumba is a very generical name that is related with candomblé. Macumba is a name related in candomblé. So you are talking about a Brazilian kind of santeria. Who people who know santeria, we have the same in Brazil. We call candomblé. Probably you are listening a lot of drums, right?
Yeah, and it's a ceremony. It's like an hour and a half of music, and I still haven't recovered from that, man. I mean, it's just incredible. What an incredible CD. And I think it was recorded in the 70s, and I think it was in Rio. I think it was recorded in Rio.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of macumba here, candomblé.
Sure.
Here.
Wow.
When you come again, we will bring you
a
ceremony like this.
I would love that. I don't know if I'd survive, man.
But that stuff is kind of the backbone of Brazilian music, man, because like a lot of it, even though you don't, for example, there's a rhythm called cabula in that style that sounds very much like samba. Get do go get go. That has that kind of feel to it. And like I don't know that you have samba without having that backbone before it,
Right.
And I think we kind of have similar analogs here in the US. I mean, so much of our music is based upon the church, gospel music, and all of that sort of stuff, and the Black American music that dates back hundreds of years.
Because here in Brazil, of course, for the power people was not they didn't like to have drums, slave playing drums, but however the drums survived here in Brazil. We still having drums, but in U.S. culture, it was completely forbidden, right? And you develop more the voice and the military instruments and
and the guitar. But one place only in the U.S. that it was, and that was New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
That was New Orleans, in what they called Congo Square. Yeah,
Congo Square.
Yep.
That's the one. They would allow it there, and that's why that place is considered the birthplace of not only jazz but a lot of American music.
Yeah,
because
I
that
mean,
continued to be
yeah,
the foundation.
and still the music there. As Bernardo and I hung out for like a week together there when we
Yeah.
did that Snarky Puppy thing with the years ago. It's an incredible, incredible city. You know.
Yeah. And
Incredible.
that's one place where you still see like communal drumming. You know, you see like the idea of getting a bunch of people together to play drums, like you see in samba schools and
Yeah.
Cuba and Roomba, that sort of stuff. Second line, you know, and
Yeah.
everything around that is that exactly, you know,
Mm-hmm.
parade music built around like multiple people playing parts that glue together
Yep. Yep.
rather than the drum set itself, you know. But then the drum set is kind of like is designed to kind of emulate that in a certain way
Yeah.
and kind of distill it down to something that can be done by one person so that you have this kind of illusion of independent parts, but really what you have is kind of an interdependence between all of those limbs.
Yeah.
And I've heard you kind of talk about that a little bit before in relation to your playing, you know, because when you play, it's not a bass and it's not a guitar, it's something else entirely.
Yeah. And it took me many years to figure that out. And, you know, the main issue was like, okay, wait, I was a pretty shredding guitar player before I started and doing that. And I was a pretty decent bass player and okay, not great drummer, but I could beat, not, you know, it wasn't fantastic. But you know, I was just like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to get on this instrument. I'm going to try to play all this shit. And if you listen to my early Blue Note records, it's just too much shit, you know, playing too much shit. And then as years went by, I realized like, well, independence it can be impressive, but what's more important to me is interdependence and playing something simply that weaves itself together and has a good feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what's important to me. The other stuff is I'm going to leave that for somebody else to do, you know? So interdependence, I feel like, is more important than independence. But you do have to develop the independence to be able to understand the interdependence, right?
100%. But I think that interdependence concept is even larger than like learning to do it as one person. That's one thing that you've mastered incredibly. But you can talk about that same thing in relation to samba schools as well too. Is that you're leaning on other people to be playing their part in a certain way that allows you to play your part in a certain way.
Right.
You know? And I teach a bloco down here in Miami where a lot of times we have people coming in who have never played before, right? They haven't touched anything before and they're just jumping on. And if you can do something simple that locks in with everybody else, it creates this illusion of you doing something crazy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You might just be playing quarter notes, but on top of the right groove, it feels good.
You're plugged in. If you're plugged into what everyone is doing, then you get that high, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want for sure. So that kind of stuff, I think, really jumps through in your playing. And we talk about a lot with Pandeiro as well, too, because we're not trying to be a drum set player, even though that serves as an inspiration for us.
Sure.
And like we were talking about with the stuff at the top, James Gads and all that sort of shit. It's not going to sound like drum set because it's a Pandeiro. It's going to have its own voice. That's an important thing, but we need that inspiration from other places.
Of course.
You find that in your music as well, too? What inspired you?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I grew up in a very musical area in Berkeley, California with just like guitar players everywhere. It's too many great musicians all over the place. So just surrounded by music. And my mom was an old blues head. So we had all the really old blues records going all the time, you know. It was a real, it's kind of like a unfair advantage just because I got access to that music at such an early age, you know. And most people are of our generation, you know, you end up having to go back to check that out. And I still go back to check it out because I need to work on it better and get new ideas, you know. But I got a question for Bernardo, actually.
Go for
Please.
it.
So I've spent some time actually watching the Pandeiro Hepiki duo stuff on YouTube. And what I find is so cool about it, obviously it's Gabriel, right? The Hepiki player.
Gabriel Policarpo, yeah.
Policarpo. You guys have played together a long time, obviously, right?
Yes.
But you're really the first group that I've seen that is free improvised Brazilian roots music. And it really is free improvised. You guys are just, I feel like you could play for 2 hours without even stopping to talk about the music or do this or do that. You just get up there and you just play. And I think that I mean, you could tell me, but I'm sure it's the same with me and people I play with, but you really have to have a command of the vocabulary to get that together. But I just feel like you guys have such a special sound because your narrative is so different. You're going to hear those tonalities, the sambas in there, that the maracatu, all the things you guys can get. But there's all of this really deep free improvisation. And I'm wondering where that came from, because that's not a big part of that music,
Yeah, because me and Gabriel, we started to play music in a very strong culture that is escola de samba. When we say escola de samba, maybe for foreign people outside Brazil, it sounds like escola, school, samba school. But it's not. It's completely street culture. It's not something that you go there and the people take the stick, put this finger here. No, it's come on, son of a bitch, play now. This kind of spirit. So I think the richness in Brazil is the street culture. I know you started also playing street.
Yeah.
It is very. We got a lot of spirits and good vibes from the street. That is the real stuff. So me and Gabriel started from this, and Gabriel played this instrument, repique, that there is a bass sound and a high sound that is different than the bass sound and high sound of pandeiro. So we complement, and we didn't think in that. We just played, and Susano mixed our album, and he said that that's very interesting, the sound spectrum. And so this gives us a lot of freedom in the spectrum of sounds. And we have this language of samba, that is this thing of question and answer, that there is repique. So he knows the voice, and samba is not stuck. Every year, people are developing new things. This became fresh, and me and Gabriel, we are involved in this somehow. So we have this vocabulary answer you, but also we are very open for universal music, So we have there is a phrase here in Brazil that is ninguém é universal longe de seu quintal. How can I say that? You if you know a lot very well your stuffs, you can be universal. So
yeah.
We start from this very deep culture, and then we spend, because sometimes there is no rules, right? So we could just stay playing our culture and all this, but we like to open, and we travel a lot around the world, and we are very open. When we go to Africa, we want to see the drums, and we take a free bus to go in a very far away place and see just and we don't was like a note.
Yeah.
We feel here, when I go to see you playing New Orleans in a small bar, I'm feeling the thing, and this become part of the roots of the things. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
what you guys
answer your question.
Yeah, no, what you guys are doing, but and I totally hear that, and I agree. I feel like if you can really dig deep into whatever your respective music culture is, if you can dig really deep into that, then it does give you a way that you can understand everybody else's. It gives you a perspective so that you can. But the thing that's so interesting about what you guys do is, you'll hear a samba school where they'll do like a call. They're like, but you guys will do, like, I've seen you do a call for 15 minutes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so much information, but it's all improvised too. And to me, that sounds like the best. I mean, a lot of it, I just feel like, man, this is like Ornette Coleman, or this is like the Art Ensemble of Chicago, or this is like some of the deep, improvisers that I've been lucky enough to play with, like Bobby Previtt and Curtis Folks and, Oliver Lake, people like that. It's like, this is some deep improvisation here, and that's what I think is so special about it, because you guys obviously are masters of samba school music, but also you have this other global component of free improvisation, which is just, it makes it so damn cool what you're doing.
And there is also the marriage of Bernardo and Gabriel. We are playing. Sometimes we do like this.
Yeah.
And now I know what we have
Yeah.
a very good communication. That of course I communicate with a lot of musicians, but like with Gabriel, we have something. We develop. We play a lot. We travel together.
Yeah.
And, so we breathe the same air. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
For many years. What are you guys putting out? Do you have any stuff coming out or stuff you're working on?
Man, we are trying to travel to Europe the next week. Let's see if it works. So
Oh, wow.
we
Good,
something
good.
very take some brief, because
Yeah.
to play like. Of course, if you get, we will make a lot of music and things together, and play, create,
Yeah.
create new stuff.
Yeah, well, I hope so, man.
And we have PRD+. Brian is part of PRD+. Tell me, Brian, say about PRD+. What's PRD+?
PRD is an extension of PRD. So, like, for those who are listening, maybe don't know, PRD is the duo that Charlie was asking about with Bernardo and Gabriel, and that stands for Pandeiro Repique Duo. And those are the two instruments. It's a very aptly named duo. You have a Pandeiro player and you have a Repique player. And those things have a really special place in Brazilian culture, but really from two different worlds.
Oh, really?
They are related to samba for sure, but the Repique is like samba enredo, like parade, marching samba. And Pandeiro more comes from the choro tradition that we talked a little bit about earlier, and samba de roda, things that are around a table, smaller kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So they
because
interact.
you cannot listen in samba school. You cannot listen to Pandeiro. So people are using to do things like
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what a Pandeiro is in a samba school.
in
It's
the
a
old
beautiful
times,
visual.
It was, but
But nowadays
it's
you
just
don't hear it at all. You don't hear it at all.
I
But
don't know
Bernardo-
what to do. I don't know what to do.
It's like a
being a
basketball
basketball
doing a
player.
basketball,
It's like he's a basketball player who plays great basketball but doesn't know how to spin a ball.
Yeah,
What were you practicing all these years, man?
Exactly.
But no, like the samba stuff that he was talking about, the samba school thing really, I think, informs their playing, because like you said, there's so much improvisation within it, but it's improvisation within a common vocabulary that they both understand, having grown up in samba schools. Gabriel, obviously a Repique player, grew up in it from a young age, was playing that style. And Bernardo was in one as well too, Santa Marta, right? Was it?
Yeah, Santa Marta.
But in that, he's not playing Pandeiro. He's playing Caixa. He's playing other things that are more within that style.
Got
and
you.
within the samba schools, every year they write new bossas, is what they're called, like in bossa nova.
Really?
Yeah, a bossa is a set phrase that we kind of know. I'm going to play this call. There will be this response, and it means to go to this place. And like there's a language within that not only is like, all right, I play this and you play this, but it means we're going to this place musically, or we're going somewhere else. So a lot of what they're doing is when they're playing these phrases, it's giving each other direction by playing those specific phrases that allow you to jump from one to the next. And so a lot of it is built upon that kind of vocabulary and the improvisation that allows, or that you're allowed when you play in that kind of style. And so PRD+ is an extension around that idea, is that we're going to take these instruments that like might normally be seen in a certain context, Pandeiro and Repique, and make something new with it entirely. So within that group, you also have Gustavo and Guilherme Oliveira, who are the directors of the Salgueiro Samba School, which is
Master.
Yeah, master.
You
Sorry,
was-
Wow.
I should use the proper terminology.
Master means
Mastery.
like they are the guys, like the noblish of percussion
kings.
word, like
The brother
they are-
kings, man, they're
Yeah.
incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, they
So they
command
come with
like
that-
200, 300 people, they are, and there's a competition. It's not just have fun. It's responsibility. It's not just know about the music, but a lot of things to lead something,
Yeah. It's an incredible position. And we got to take part of it this year because Bernardo and I played with that samba school in Carnival back in February. And like, man, what an intense, incredible experience that was.
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
I can
in the
only
middle
imagine.
of that thing as it's happening.
It's a lot of sound,
Yeah,
like
man.
300 people playing, 200, 300 people.
and it's
And they-
pressure.
And someone was also telling me like every school has its own thing that it does, its own. Like some schools are known for the surdu, some schools are known for tambourine, some schools, and then they change the band up. Like not every school has. It's not like a big band where every big band is kind of more or less the same instrumentation. Every school has a slightly different instrumentation.
Size of instruments, tuning of the instruments, the beat. Some snare, for example, one can play another can play.
That's something that's different in like every school.
No, so you can listen far away and say, this is mangueira, this is salgueiro, this is
Wow.
For sure. And then you have different instruments like the go-go are different in some, some just play with 2, some play with none, some play with like a 4 set. How many cuicas you have, caixa versus taurol, which is like a snare drum that you like hold here on your arm and play at top, So there's all.
You got to be a big motherfucker to play that one.
You got to be a deaf motherfucker, man. That thing sits like right next to your ear. And you know what's crazy is I remember the first time I went to go see Salguero, I think it was, and they had some people playing that. And like I saw this guy just like beating the hell out of it, but with the most loving expression on his face, like he was holding his lover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible, man.
Samba culture you have is amazing because you have people playing can be like a traffic dealer with a police, and a doctor, rich guy, and with there is this kind of thing. People are playing the same beat, believing the same thing. It's beautiful. And sometimes you see, as Brian said, a guy like he can play like this, boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
angry. Another in his side next to him can be. So it's very open for.
It's something really incredible. It's something really incredible.
But
so
most people can play all the instruments, even though they generally specialize in one, right? Mm-hmm. If you're in a school, you should be able to play you should be able to play surdu, tambourine, right? I mean,
you were probably exposed to it at some point, and when you're coming up, they have like junior samba schools. Escola Merin, where like they're teaching people how to play from like 4 years old or whatever. Like,
wow!
Here's the tamborim, and like I've seen like kids down there, like this 6-year-old girl playing tamborim like it was nothing. She wasn't even looking. Just
wow!
You could tell it was in her blood from such a young age. She was just around it all the time. So everybody does like play a lot of different things, and you have kind of specialties. For example, Gabriel, the hipiki player, his specialty for sure is hipiki, but like listen to that guy play caixa and it's deep feel, there's a lot of that for sure. It's important to play a bunch of different things, man. I think that informs you as a musician because you start to learn different roles within the music for sure. And you start to kind of focus your own inner voice because having to express that inner voice on a lot of different things kind of distills that down into something that can be translated into congas, into drum set, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, Bernardo was saying, some instruments they don't work very well in certain circumstances. My instrument is a great live instrument. I can record with a live band and it does its thing and it's pretty awesome. But when I'm here recording for people, if they ask me for my instrument, of course I'm going to do it. It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. But like if they want like a certain track, I'm just like, dude, it takes me 2 hours to put down drums, a bass, and a couple guitar parts, and then we're done. Whereas with my instrument, it's a whole other thing. It doesn't make as much sense,
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as like marching. What, you're going to march with a drum set? You know what I mean? And the same like with a Pandeiro, you're out in a club with a big band and you're playing Pandeiro, and even if you have the sound really, the drums are still killing you, But when you have the Pandeiro and it's just the Pandeiro and a microphone, dude, forget it. That sound is just ridiculous, and people are shitting their pants because they can't believe there's that much sound.
Now I have here the video.
There we go.
Cool.
And thanks a lot for this invitation. You I think you did with many people, right? You just record a groove and send to some friends and some musicians to just
Yeah.
add something. It was very nice starting the pandemic situation to do this.
It was really fun, man. You crushed this.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
What happened? Come back.
Good use of space.
Woo! Oh!
Hey. Yeah,
Dude,
man.
that was so great. When you were doing that little triplet thing, what is that from, man? Is
There
that
you
a
go.
is that a samba school thing? I mean, that's just
The triplet intro, the do 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 when you play to the nylon.
Okay.
That is kind of
And then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some phrases, some phrases.
Oh,
some phrase. I
love
think
it.
it comes from that samba school idea of like, all right, this phrase I'm gonna play it once, and then it's gonna come back again, and it means we go here this time. You know?
Yeah.
Right, right.
Some conception that I have that I don't know I have, you know. Like, it's
Yeah,
natural.
yeah. It's just all about. That's the beautiful thing about it, which is so. I feel like it's when I was younger, I could play. We're around drum set all the time, and you hear percussionists, but it's more of a guitar, drums, bass. That's the kind of world I grew up in. But later on, when I got introduced to like Los Muñequitos de Matanzas, and then also listening to all of the Brazilian music, it took. I had to have someone sit down with me and explain to me what was going on. And then when I realized what was going on and I started really listening, I was like, holy fuck, this is like intellectually on such a sophisticated level. And it's because what's so amazing about it is it's not written down really. It's handed down and everyone gets this consciousness. And it's really, to me, is like the highest kind of to grow up like you did in a samba school, or to be in like Los Muñequitos, or to be in like a percussion group from Mali or Senegal. I mean, that kind of stuff it's so deep because you really are directly connected to people that played this shit hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe not as much with the samba thing, but man, it's just so incredible. And I'm not articulating it very well, but it's just like to be able to play like those calls in a Santeria thing or a candomblé ceremony, or like you say in a samba school thing, and to know all of that stuff, all of these incredibly complex rhythms to begin with, and then to know all of these forms that aren't going to be the same forms every time, but when you play a certain phrase, which is really fucking hard, a lot of those phrases, and some of them are 6 beats, some of them are 10 beats, who knows, and then you're going to the next thing, the next section, but then when you hit it again, it means you're going to go to a whole different section. That shit is like the height of like communal human intellectuality,
Yeah, it's because we are used to play for audience, right? We go to the stage and play to audience. This is one way that we can make music. Is one, but for example, to play in a samba school, you have other responsibilities involved. To play in a candomblé ceremony, you have a lot of responsibility, So it's very beautiful to see how music serves for many things, not just to play to audience. That is very nice. Is our life, is how we make our life possible. But music is more than that. And here in the streets, when I say streets, is this large culture from Brazil. We have maracatu, we have coco, we have jongo. All this is not just to play to audience, you know. Of course, play to people listen, but something huge, you know.
And I totally agree with you. I mean, when I was a street musician, it was the best time. I mean, I wasn't that good. I
I'd
wasn't
like
playing.
to know more about it, like to play in the
Well,
street. To
yeah, man. I
feel
mean,
this.
I was in Europe, which was easy, you know, because if you're an American in Europe, unfortunately, you're the criminal element. You know what I mean? But it was really nice. I met the best people. I was in Paris and in Zurich, Switzerland, because Zurich was a very good place. With the people were friendly and they had a lot of money, and it was a great place to have as a base. But the thing I loved about it is just you would just set up with the instruments and you start playing, and then within 5 minutes you have a new community.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't do that anywhere else. People will hype you up. You got to do your internet advertising. You got to do this. They want to buy the tickets. They want, you're the man, this, that, the other thing. Man, I got to tell you, if someone told me, look, dude, I'm going to pay you a living wage and your health care and everything, and all you got to do is just play on the street like 3 or 4 days a week, I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'll do it 7 days a week. I'm good. Let's do this. You know, it really is the best. And I felt like when I was in Rio and I saw the people playing in the street, just practicing and playing, and everything that happens in the community, it really filled my soul for real, because that just made me feel like, yeah, this is, and what Bernardo, what you were saying a minute ago about, like, you know, you get up in front of an audience and that's your responsibility to play for the audience. But if you're in a samba school, you have all this other responsibility, you know, and if you play in a candomblé ceremony, then wow, it's really a lot of responsibility, you know. And I think we need to start, maybe people especially in the States, and me as well, you start thinking on those terms, you know, how connected you are to all the people that came before you, and how important it is that you kind of live up to your potential, and you know, you play as good as you can, you know.
Yeah. Especially in this moment that the world is very strange. We don't know very well what's going on. So to call the spirits, to call the other energy is a good moment to do that.
Yeah.
It's some kind of opportunity for change, whatever this is. And like, maybe there will be on the other side of this more of that kind of thing. People will be so starved for that, because what you're talking about is the purest form of the drug, right? Just immediate interaction and gratification for being around people. I miss that more than anything else, dude. Like just playing in front of a group of people and like building that little community that happens in that room or on that street corner or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Totally. We need that desperately. And I think that's something that hopefully will come back in full force, and maybe with a new appreciation for that, because it's why people love New Orleans so much here in the US. And it's one of the things that really drew me to Rio as well too, is just like music in the streets as a function of being human, not as like, this is a show, this is a special setup, this is just humanity spilling over, you know?
Yep. Just show up and play.
Charlie, you played with hip hop groups as well.
Yeah.
Something. Tell a little bit about that.
Well, you know, back in the day, I was in Berkeley. When I was done being a street musician, I went back to Berkeley and I worked at a place called Subway Guitars, which was kind of like the main like guitar store where all the weird people would hang out. And when I worked there, there's friends of mine worked there, a guy named Alvin Youngblood Hart. I don't know, Brian, you may know Alvin.
Yeah.
He's a great blues player, which is a great player in general. And Alex Skolnick, who's a great guitar player, and that group called Testament, kind of a heavy metal band. But he also is really developed into a great jazz player as well. And also a guy named Michael Franti, who has that group now called Spearhead. We all worked in a guitar store together.
All in that one shop.
Yeah, in a little shop. It was small. And so Michael, he had a group back in the day called Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy. So this is like 1989. And he said, hey, man, do you want to go on the road? I got a record deal with Island Records. And I said, well, how much does it pay? Because I make $400 a week here and moving furniture. And he goes, I'll pay you $500 a week. So I was like, okay, cool. That's good. I'm in. So, but we went on the road, and we were touring with bands like Public Enemy and Gangstar and Arrested Development for a long time, which is how I got to be friends with Dion Ferris. Yeah, in that hip hop scene. And we played a lot of these festivals and big shows. And we even opened for U2, the big giant rock band. We opened for them on their Zoo TV tour. It was quite an experience. It really was, you know.
That's another side of the music industry that like we don't really participate in at all. It seems like this incredible, crazy dog and pony show.
Oh yeah, it's a whole other reality. And I realized, like, well, thank you for letting me come here, but this is not for me.
I got to see how the sausage was made, and I'm going to be a vegetarian.
Oh yeah, pretty much. But I respect the game, of course, man. And you respect they have their own process, their own thing to do. It's not like it's not legitimate or anything. It's just that universe and that way of pursuing a music career was not for me, you know. No, thank you. You know.
Did being in that world then kind of like lead to the connection with D'Angelo and the Voodoo sessions, or?
No, I don't think so, because I quit that band when it was at its height. I had just had enough, you know, and everyone was like, what are you doing? You're crazy. I'm like, I might be crazy, but I need to fucking learn how to play better. And I'm not going to learn how to play better here. As much as I love these guys, they were really the best people, but I just wasn't going to learn how to play better, you know? Right. And so I went back and I started my...
You were needing to grow up.
Yeah, man, totally. You gotta move on. And I went back to the Bay Area and I started my own band with Dave Ellis on tenor and Jay Lane on drums. And D'Angelo actually saw that band playing on, although Scott Amendola was on drums at that point, he saw that band playing on Bet on Jazz. BET had a jazz thing. And so that's why then he called me in to play on that record at that point.
That's such an incredible album, man. I think I might have showed that one to Bernardo. I think that might have been one of the ones I was like, you need to dig into this and see what this is all about.
Ah, that's
fantastic.
Cool.
We spent many nights, me and Brian, just took some beers and listen music, and I put something, he put something.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
That's the best kind of like interaction musically. I love those types of nights when you're just like hanging out with somebody who knows a bunch of shit that you don't know, and you just kind of like pass the thing back and forth. I remember I had a night like that with Gabriel Policarpo from PRD, because he came to Homestead and stayed with me in Miami for a little while. And I was like, I barely know any Portuguese. This guy doesn't know much English. What are we going to talk about? And immediately it came to that. I was like, oh, let's just turn on YouTube and pass remote back and forth. Have you seen this? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. You know, like I could do that endlessly, man. I could do that endlessly.
And you know, that's how we actually learn. Yeah. Because I think there's a certain element of non sequitur when you're trying to discover new music. You need a host. You need someone to kind of host you through the process. And I mean, I'll never forget when I was a street musician, we knew this guy from Argentina who played upright bass. You know, he tried to play jazz with us. I was just like, this feels weird. What's going on? Then he'd play tango and you're like, holy fuck, this guy is insane. Yeah. You know, gee, like what the hell? And we're like, dude, take us to because we all lived in squats in Paris. We would find a squat, and he lived in this nice squat on Champs-Élysées, and you had to walk up 9 flights of stairs, and we're like, take us to your squat and play us this music. And he took us there and he played us Tango 0 Hour by Astor Piazzolla.
Yeah.
You know that record?
Of course.
It's incredible. Yeah. Played that record, and we were just sitting there. We'd never seen or heard anything like that. And to have a guy from Buenos Aires there explaining it to us, telling us everything, and we listened another time. Now that record is in my brain like forever. And it's the same with you know, Cuban music, Latin music, and Brazilian music. When I go, and my Brazilian friends are just like this. It's like the same. It's like, listen to this, and here's what you're listening for, and I'm gonna, you know, make this less mysterious for you, and it will make it even a better experience for you as well. You know.
Yeah, that type of context is like You don't get that from just a straight listen, and you don't really even
No.
get that from like taking a class in that style of music or whatever. You need to talk to somebody who loves that style of music with every part of their heart and soul, and who has a deep cultural understanding of what it means, because that frames everything in a different way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that we get here. So I love those nights, and I'm missing those terribly, man. Just the random hangs with people who know shit that you don't know.
Yep.
And that makes all the difference in the world. Oh, look, we got a friend popping in here. Hey, Jamie. I
She
don't know who
is
she's talking about, but we all are, so it's fine.
fine. She's crazy.
Man.
Yeah, but that's totally it. Otherwise, it's learning a language. You can study it in a book all you want, but until you learn the culture, you're going to have a really hard time assimilating that. You know?
Totally. And then that kind of stuff will then kind of come into your playing, into your musical universe in a really unique and potent way, where we'll have, it's not like, oh, I just had this Santana album and now I want to put cowbells on everything. But because you've gone into something a little bit deeper, it kind of like rewires your brain and your musical understanding in a certain way.
Yep, absolutely.
You know? And then you start like experimenting with different things. I know that this is something that you do a lot, just playing with lots of different collaboratives. Lots of different things where you're like, okay, you said that you come from the drum, bass, guitar world, but I see lots of times where you're stretching out beyond that. You know, the one that we saw recently was with Lucy Woodward. And
Kata. And Kata.
That stuff
is the moment to this question, right?
There you go. Look at that production value.
Oh, that's amazing. Let me see. Well, you know what it is like, for instance, that's why when I heard PRD, I was like, fuck, I gotta make a record with these guys.
Please,
I was just like, I have to. I was just like, I have to, because this is some shit that I think I know 33% of it. And when I get in there, they'll teach me another 33%. And I won't be such a problem for them. And then I'll know enough of their stuff. They know enough of mine, and we can really make some great music together and make something different. And that's what I'm always, I think, trying to do. And I'm not a very large act. I don't play real big places, but I make a living. I mean, generally, and what it allows me to do, it allows me to change it up, and I can do different stuff, like the thing with Lucy and Kata. And the reason that happened, it was Kata and I had a tour planned where we were going to that Ground Up festival that you guys were at. You were there with Carlos Malta.
Yeah.
We were going down to play that, and with this young woman from Mexico named Silvana Estrada, and she's a killer Mexican singer-songwriter, really, but a lot deeper than that. If you get a chance to check her music out. But she was not allowed into the country, so I had to find a singer in 3 days, and it worked out with Lucy, and then we just kind of hit it off and toured a bunch, and made a record, and now we're in kind of no zone because I don't have a gig for a year.
Yeah, right. It's kind of crazy and weird to think about that, but here we are. But this group, this formation is you hear bass, drums, and guitar because of what the sound is coming up, but what's actually doing that is this crazy instrument that you have and this crazy setup that Kata has as well too.
Yeah.
Very good sound.
Yeah. The incredible sound.
Oh yeah, Kata's something else, man. That guy's a force of nature. He's a real special dude, Yeah.
Let's listen a little bit.
Let's hear a little bit, yeah.
Okay. I made that happen.
Told you, baby, one more time. Don't let me sit all alone and cry when it's over.
I'll be right back.
Go for it.
All right, dog.
I'm like a fish out of water, a cat in a tree, and you don't even wanna talk to me. Well, it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. You won't take me back when I come around. Say sorry, but it puts me out. I got a big chain around my neck, and I'm broken down like a train wreck. Well, it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. See, I got a candle burn so bright in my window every night. Well, it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. And you don't wanna see me sitting around. I feel like I've been shot, but didn't fall down. It's over. I know it, but I can't let go.
Where did you? Oh, I see what they did.
You won't take me back when I come around. Say the sorry, but it puts me out. I got a big chain around my neck, and I'm broken down like a train wreck. Well, it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. Come on, Shawty, let go.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. I didn't know we had these comments here,
Yeah, right.
and all these people are asking questions. And my friend George Slepik, who's a great drummer in Memphis, if you guys want to see someone who can play that Howard Grimes, Deep Downtown, and the Killer Shuffle, that's my friend
That's
George.
the man right here.
But he said, can you please tell me the name of the album Music from Oyo Jipeshi? Because my Google search is only bringing up plantar warts.
but I wrote. I wrote.
That's incredible.
Oh man.
You just got to make sure that it's spelled right. We'll send the information.
He said you are a very good Pandeiro player. As well.
Not. I could play a few funk beats, but that's about it, man. Dude, this instrument is like really one of the hardest instruments I think there is to play, honestly. I mean, really, because you're trying to get like and everything you do is working against you. You hit it and it wants to go away from you.
Yeah.
Then you want to slap it and it's somewhere else. Then you want to hit it again and it's somewhere else. It's like it's like always, it's like an instrument that's just going na 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 na. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, if you're whatever, you know, but if I want to play some other stuff, like it's like I'm a pretty good drummer and I can play that beat on drums and it's like works. And I played on Pandeiro and I'll record it and I think, yeah, man, that sounds good. That feels good. And then I play it back. I'm just like, God, that sounds absolutely horrible. Because it's really, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's just crazy instrument because what other instrument do you know when you hit it, it wants to go this way.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's a frame drum, right? And there is frame drums around the world, many. And in general, the gravity is working for you. Like, for example, Italian technique or Canjira, you are using the gravity in your side. But in Brazil culture, you play against the gravity.
Yep.
But it works.
Yeah.
And, here, now, let's make the advertise, right, Brian?
Yeah, of course.
To make your life easier if you want to.
If you want to learn how to play Pandeiro, this is it exactly.
And for real, if they had, like, I got excited about the book that they put out because when I was trying to learn this, nothing existed. I got one lesson from a Brazilian guy for like 10 minutes in between like a green room. And I was just like, okay, don't forget this. Okay, remember this. All right, don't forget. And then he was gone, and that was that, you know? And so, you know, to have this kind of thing, and also because, you know, maybe Bernardo can explain to some of the people here, like the original Pandeiro, you know, the more samba style, shoho style, all that stuff is very different from what eventually became the modern style.
For example, this is the same instrument, but no, but not.
But it's not.
Sounds completely
It's a
different.
different technique. It's a different sound. It's a different style. Yeah, because like before, like when we talk about samba and choro, we're talking about players like Gilberto Dávila, Jorginho do Pandeiro, guys who kind of like had a very specific sound on the drum that worked within those older styles. But the guy who came along and changed everything was Marco Susano, who was referenced, you know, much of times this show, and we will reference every show because of how much influence he has on us and our playing and this style of music. And he was the first one to turn the thing on his head and say, no, instead of starting here with the thumb like everybody else does, I'm going to start up top. And so that will allow me to, like we were talking about at the very beginning on those funk beats, that slap lands like right on the backbeat, and all of a sudden it opens up all these different possibilities. And one thing, it can play stuff outside of Brazil, like funk and Afrobeat and that sort of stuff. But even in Brazil, we talked so much earlier about candomblé and that style of music that has kind of a Santeria-like position in Brazil.
Yeah.
Man, it's just all driven by the low end, and the low end is playing all these upbeat syncopations. And all that sort of stuff is driven on the low end, and it's driven on the e's and the uhs if we're talking in like Western, you know, musical theory. So now that lands here on the thumb, and so all of a sudden now you've opened up like this new vocabulary that's possible, and the technique is actually helping you instead of hindering you. So it changed everything, and then after that you have like the tuning came down, the microphone got placed upon it, and it became this kind of like hybrid electroacoustic instrument that we kind of use nowadays. That's what sounds more like almost like a drum machine, kind of electronic, almost 808 in a sense.
808. Yeah, it sounds like an 808.
Yep.
You know.
That's what I hear all the time is I take that thing out, I'm playing gigs, and people are like, so where's the trigger? Where's the 808 down here? I was like, no. This is all right here. It's just this microphone and this drum. Come listen. You can see it sounds like that.
You're going to laugh. The first time I heard 808 was like 1983 or 84 at Berkeley High School, because a guy called Too Short, who maybe you know, the rapper Too Short, he was an Oakland guy, but he was making tapes out of his house with an 808. And I don't know what he was recording on, but he was probably, who knows, but he would come to the high school and sell his cassette tapes out of a box. And my friend, I remember my friend is Lamont Adams, if he's, I doubt he's listening, but he bought the tape. And I remember listening to it, and I was just like, wow, what is that? And he bought the tape because all the raps were super dirty. Like they were super nasty at that time. It's like the mid 80s. You're not going to hear like, that was super underground at that time, you know. But that was the 808 with that boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those really big, long bass tones. Doom.
Oh, ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I will tell the same history I told to Keita, to Charlie, about the evolution of funk, Brazilian funk. Here in Brazil, if you say funk, people will know a music like a choo-cha-cha, choo-cha, choo-cha, things like that. But it starts from the funk, and it starts from the sounds, 808, from Miami beats. It starts with things like a toom, 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 toom.
Oh, really?
Two Live Crew, man. Two Live Crew is huge in Brazil because of this reason, you know?
Really? Oh, my God.
And this beat as well, toom, toom, pa, toom. Volt mix, people call in Miami volt mix. So people here in Brazil, in favela, in the ghetto, start to use this beat to make the music and make lyrics, talk about social aspects. And so we cross the 90s with this music we call funk.
Wow.
And after from the 2000, people start to do things like because this, if you know, tum tum pa tum tum pa tugu dugu dugu pa tum. We have the clave, Afro-Brazilian clave that is Afro-Cuban as well, but it's Afro-Brazilian, so it makes sense, but not in a rational way. But tum tum pa pum pum. People start to do poo pa pa poo poo pa poo do with a conga, electronical conga.
Oh, really?
Pa, poo, poo, pa, poo, do, pa, pa, poo, poo, pa, boom, boom, pa, boom, in the chorus. Boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa, poo, pa, pa. And more people take off the volt mix, the Miami beat, and nowadays it's just choo cha cha chuggy cha choo cha cha chuggy cha. And we did this more samba spirit, and so choo cha cha chuggy cha. And it's the voice, like I'm singing here, but sound electronical.
Oh, I love it. That is so funky, man. Damn.
It's funky, Brazilian funk.
Yeah. And it's
Oh, I
incredible to see that stuff live. I've seen a couple of shows and it's just like a dude with like an MPC playing it in live and an MC. And they just go.
I love it.
They just go for hours and hours and hours. And it's kind of similar to bringing it back around to Pandeiro Hibiki Duo, is that they're not doing songs, they're doing phrases.
Yeah.
And they're able to go from phrase to phrase to phrase to phrase and create this kind of like endless groove, man. The groove
Wow.
doesn't stop, dude.
Oh, I love
It's
it.
something else. We gotta hip you to some bachidao, some Brazilian funk, man.
Sure,
tell
I'm
what
in.
they think.
Please, I'm into it. Hit me
And-
up. Let's do a Zoom meeting at some point so you guys
Yeah.
can just play me some stuff.
I'm down, and we'll definitely get you the Pandeiro method as well too.
Oh, I would love that.
You wanna
Then you're
check it
gonna
out?
really fuck me because I'm gonna think I have a chance now.
But you do, because it's like 7 hours of video and all these different tempos and broken down, and like it's there
All right.
forever. So it's
All
something.
right.
We hope you can join.
Our deal was 1 hour with the Charlie Hunter, right? And
Yeah, we
read,
broke it. We're
with
terrible.
1 hour 20, he has to rest.
Oh, it's okay. I know. I gotta eat now. I gotta go eat, man.
Late here on the East
But
Coast.
Brian, please, what do we have to say to the people who's listening about to go to Groovy Art, enjoy
Yeah,
the
I mean,
page,
you know,
Instagram, blah blah blah. blah,
Exactly. If you aren't already, go follow everybody on the Instagram socials. Charlie Hunter's social. Art is Groove Art. You can find us on Instagram, and if you can go to grooveart.com. Groove Art is spelled with it's Groove Art with an E at the end because that's Groovy Archie. We worked really hard to find something that would fit both in Portuguese and in English. So you can go to grooveart.com and check out the Pandeiro Moderno method there. Subscribe to our newsletter. Follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on all over the place, man. We're everywhere nowadays. You can't escape us. You can't escape the Pandeiro. So follow us along. We're going to be doing more of these lives once a week from now on. And some of them are going to be in English like this, where we talk with people outside of Brazil. And a lot of them are also in Portuguese, where you get to like listen to me suffer through some terrible Portuguese. And we'll talk samba, we'll talk pandeiro, we'll talk music in general, a bunch of different things. So come hang out with us anytime. For people who are here from ground up, thanks for checking it out. And thank you, Charlie Hunter, for doing this, man. It was so great to hang with you and talk shop, man.
Thank you guys. It was my pleasure. Truly, that was a blast, man.
It means a lot, dude. It means a lot.
And I hope to see you soon. And I hope Bernardo. Well, I hope to see you in the flesh sometime, Brian. And Bernardo, I hope we can make a PRD and a record sometime, man. I would love that.
let's
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
that's on my list,
Let's
man,
do,
for
let's do
sure.
Let's kick that ball
Please,
forward. I want to hear
please.
that.
That's on my list, man.
Say
Big
just
time.
the clothes I need to use, and I'll be there.
Okay, good.
The dress code for this album.
No dress code. No dress code,
Oh,
man.
there's the title for the album. Perfect. Done and done. We're already halfway there.
Sweatpants.
So
Nice.
we'll finish with the music.
Yeah, let's leave with some music. Thank you all for being here. We're going to play a little bit more of Charlie Hunter and hear some of this fantastic sound. We see you all next week. Thanks again, Charlie. We'll talk
Yeah.
soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Charlie.
you, guys.
Thanks with us.
Thank you, guys.
You cue it up, Bernardo. Hit it,
See you
DJ.
soon. Yeah, man.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, just go for it.
Just blast.
Just blast. So, Killer, should we try one?
Yeah, let's try one. Let's
And
try
what
one.
should the end be? Should
Let's
we
leave the
tag that?
ending to chance. What?
Just leave the ending to chance?
Yeah.
Killer, I'm down. All right, you guys ready? it.